Welcome back, students. In this session, we are going to discuss one of the important topic, that is basis of animal classification. We all know that there are millions of animal species on our earth and it's very difficult to categorize them. But if we learn some of the basic and fundamental features, we can classify them into different groups. So in this session, we are basically focusing on these features so that we can classify our animals. Now, the first feature is the level of organization. We all are multicellular organism. But tell me, have you ever thought what is a multicellularity or what is a multicellular organism? I don't think so. But it seems like a very obvious question. Like if an organism consists of more than single cell, it's multicellular, right? Let's take an example. If we have a colony of bacteria growing on a petri dish, is it a multicellular organism? Because that bacterial colony consists billions of cells, correct? And we know that the presence of more than single cell is known as multicellularity or multicellular organism. So isn't it that colony is a multicellular organism? To understand this concept, we have to first understand what is an organism. So an organism is a living thing which has organized structure, which can react to different stimuli, which can able to grow, adapt and maintain its homeostatic condition. Now each cell in that bacterial colony is able to perform all these essential functions. So that each cell in that bacterial colony function as an organism, not a whole colony as a multicellular organism. Now on the other hand, when we are talking about multicellular organism, it consists of different type of cell which work together as a group to perform different tasks. Now there are two words, differentiation and specialization. These are the two key features of multicellular organism. Okay, but now again question rise, why specialization? Because if a cell is not able to perform all the essential function, so isn't it its limited its potential? Because consider two cell, one performing all the function and second just performing one or two function. So to understand this, we have to learn the different level of organization. So the first level of organization is the cell. Cell is the smallest structural and functional component of an organism. There are different life processes going on inside the cell into different compartments. This compartment is known as cell organelles. The next level of organization is the tissue. Tissue is nothing but the group of cells which share a common structure and function inside an organism. Tissue is often specialized to perform only one or few tasks only. You may get surprised to know that majority of the animal consists only four type of tissue. What was that? Epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscle tissue and a nervous tissue. So majority of the animal consists only this four type of tissue. Next is the organ. Organ is a structure composed of different tissue which come together and perform a task. Let's take an example of an organ like heart. Heart majorly consists of muscle tissue, but it also contains connective tissue which gives structural support, and epithelial tissue which serve as a barrier to keep the blood inside the chambers, and a nervous tissue which maintain the heart rate. So all this tissue come together and perform a complicated task like pumping of blood. Now next is the organ system. Organ system consists of different organ and tissue. Okay, it consists of different organ and tissue which come together and perform a major task. Let's go back to our heart example. Heart is just an organ of a circulatory system. It also consists of blood and blood vessels. Heart only pumps the blood, but the whole circulatory system required to circulate the blood throughout the body. And finally, the fifth level of organization is the organism itself. It's able to perform all these essential functions. So these are the 5 level of organization. Again I am repeating, what was that? First is the cell, then tissue, then organ system, and finally organism itself. The second feature is the temperature regulation. All animals have different ways to maintain its body temperature as well as different source of it. Let's take an example. When you get cold, you just wear a sweater. When you get warm, you just take it off. But despite of your best efforts, your internal body temperature remains constant. But there are some groups of animals which are not able to maintain its body temperature by its own, and they depend upon some external source of it. No matters the method, but all the animal regulate their body temperature. But on the basis of their mechanism, we can classify animal into two categories. So first category is the warm-blooded animals. Those animals which are able to maintain its body temperature, like human, birds. And second category is a cold-blooded animal. Those animals which are not able to maintain its body temperature by its own, they regulate their body temperature with the help of some external source of heat like sun. So on the basis of temperature, we can classify animal into warm-blooded and cold-blooded. The third feature is body symmetry. Symmetry is nothing but the pattern at structural level. At very basic level of classification, we can divide animal into three broad categories, that is asymmetry, radial symmetry and bilateral symmetry. So we will discuss one by one. So first is asymmetry. Asymmetry is a condition when animal is constructed without any kind of pattern. Let's think about the sponges. They are the most primitive animal on our earth. They are so simple that their body part doesn't follow any kind of pattern, and those symmetry in which pattern is not present is known as asymmetry. Sponges are the best example for asymmetry. Next is the radial symmetry. Radial symmetry is a condition when a body part arranged around a central axis. Those animals which follow radial symmetry, they have top and bottom surface, but they don't have sides like front side and back side. Starfish and the jellyfish are the example of radial symmetry. The next and the important one is the bilateral symmetry. Bilateral symmetry exists when animal is constructed with equivalent part around both the planes. Those animals which follow bilateral symmetry, they have tail and head region, which is absent in radial symmetry. But we can divide bilateral animal into two mirror halves only with the help of single plane. Humans are the best example for bilateral symmetry. The next feature is body cavity. We can classify animal on the basis of body cavity. Body cavity is also known as coelom. Coelom is a fluid filled space present in between the internal organ and the outer body wall of an animal and act as a cushion and protective barrier. In complex animals like humans, coelom allow organ to grow and develop. But in simple animals like worms, coelom more act as a skeletal structure. Those group of animal which has coelom is known as coelomates like human, and those group of animal which do not have coelom is known as acoelomates like worms. But there is another group of animal which do not have true coelom but have similar space known as pseudocoelom or false coelom, and this group of animal is known as pseudocoelomates. This pseudocoelom differ from the true coelom as it located in the lining of the gut and the outer body wall, while a true coelom located in between the muscle layer and the outer body wall. The second difference is that the true coelom is derived from mesoderm and a pseudocoelom derived from blastocele. That's why many times pseudocoelomates is also known as blastocoelomates. The next feature is embryonic cell layers. Animals differ in the number of embryonic cell layers. When we look at the development of embryo, we find that the embryo of simplest animal like sponges does not contain any distinct tissue-like layer. But the jellyfish and their relatives consist of two layers in their embryo, an outer layer and an inner layer. The outer layer is known as ectoderm and the inner layer is known as endoderm. Because their embryo consists of two layers, this animal categorized as diploblastic. Now, there is some other group of animals which consist of three layers in their embryo. Along with ectoderm and endoderm, there is another layer present in between these two layers known as mesoderm. Because this group of animal consists of three layers in their embryo, these animals are categorized as triploblastic. Now, what is the function of this layer? So, the ectoderm gives rise to skin and other surface covering. The endoderm gives rise to internal lining of the digestive tract, and the mesoderm gives rise to muscles, connective tissue, and the other organs which involved in the excretion, circulation, exchange of gases, and other body supports. So, on the basis of embryonic cell layer, we can classify animal into diploblastic and triploblastic. The second last feature is the segmentation. Segmentation is nothing but the separation and the division of the animal's body into recognizable units from its anterior to posterior end. Like this is head, this is tail, like this. So there are only three animal groups which show segmentation: annelid worms, arthropods, and chordates. And finally, the last feature is the skeleton. Skeleton is a part of organism that provides structural support. Most of the animals have skeleton that provides strong scaffolding for their organ attachment. There are two types of skeleton: internal skeleton, also known as endoskeleton, and external skeleton, also known as exoskeleton. The groups like vertebrates, echinoderm, and some other group of animals show internal skeleton. Internal skeleton grow along with the animal's growth. Now, on the other hand, the arthropods, nematodes, and some other group of animals have external skeleton. External skeleton does not show any type of growth along with animal's growth. Animal must shed their old skeleton and produce a new one. So, in this session, we cover all the features on which we can classify our animals. Thank you so much.